So the mix of circular and reward system. Well, you explained me several times. It's difficult to understand, but if you are in a closed system with a unit, the time that by principle cannot be exchanged against nothing except time. How you can open the system so that you can redeem or reward with other units. I cannot find how you have this kind of transformation between the internal unit and the money, the euro.
Okay, let me try to answer this question. So there are several experiments worldwide that tried to make it possible to exchange a time currency for a euro-backed currency. And of course this is difficult, and a lot of people say it's impossible and you lose something of what you are doing if you do so. That's, by the way, true. I think you monetize something one step further even than what you do already in a time bank, where you, at least that's the first step on the ladder, but it stays reciprocal. We go one step further by monetizing it one step further, and that is a problem. But the fact that we are doubling the amount of volunteer hours in communities, which you can never do with a time bank, makes so much difference that even if that is the case, even if you are closer to the paradigm that people are used to, but the success is much larger, it enables a lot of what we call value propositions for each of them. The hospitals doubles the amount of voluntary hours in the hospital. The municipality, for example, gets kids from 16 to 21 cleaning the park on Saturday morning. Now try to do that in a time bank. We find a lot of social effects, both in outcome and in output, which are so interesting that we think that it's worthwhile at least to test and experiment with this type of models and not to be too afraid of the ethical discussions which are necessary part of this, because we are coming very close to several of the, say, the barriers that we defined ourselves. So I'm not going to say that. So the only parties that can exchange, in our system at least, euros to points or minutes and back, are professional parties. It's the hospital, it's the municipality, it's shop, it's the waste company, etc. Others will never be able to do so. So a citizen can never do that. Even a community group cannot do that. They don't have the right. They can get points, by the way. I will do that later. But they can never get euros for the points. They can't exchange that. They can only spend it in circulation peer-to-peer or redeem it in one of the redemption partners. That's the only option they have. There are more experiments. Also in, if I'm going to pronounce this well, Vollarm-Almberg in Austria, very close to the border of both Switzerland and Germany, you find an experiment where this was possible. So you can buy with euros, you can buy regiogeld, which is euro-backed, and with regiogeld you can buy time, but you can never use time to buy euros or to buy regiogeld. You can't do that. What you can do though, is having a pot of money, because people bought this, so you have money somewhere, and use this to solve the problems locally to make sure that you have money for the things that, for example, the municipality doesn't want to pay for. So that's the whole trick. So that's just another model. So it is the case that more parties are experimenting with exactly these barriers and try to find new set of rules to make it more honest, or at least don't go too far away from the original idea of equality and reciprocity.
So am I right in thinking then that this system, you haven't got individuals helping individuals in their homes? Is that right? Okay, so I think that's important to know the difference between, so what we do is more about people helping people within their homes and gardens, but because we do that, we need a safeguarding process and minimizing risk. But I think I feel like it's a little bit unfair to say that you can't, or the figure that you had was like 108 hours per person per year, and no one can do more than that. That's in the UK, there are, yeah, I think in the UK we have data to show that there are many, many people that do more than that.
Maybe you have a question after what I say, but we measured the amount of voluntary hours in many countries. It means it's the statistics where you go to. The Netherlands is highest, And we have 54 hours per person per year at average. So these people become also member of our systems, and then it doubles. That's where the big difference is. So even if you can do more, if I do 1 day a week, then I come 8 hours times 50 is, 400 hours per year. Of course you can go up. If you have the time to do so and the interest, you can do that. But at average, this does not happen. Same with time banks. You find very active people, and this is why I don't like the stories. I like the statistics. It's 5% or the 10%, and if you're very, very good, it's 20% of the people that do 90% of all your activity. The rest is member because they like it so much, they support you, but it's like being supportive to Greenpeace. It's a very passive relationship. And changing that into an active relationship is something that should be your goal, I think. And that is a difficult thing, because you have the limitation of the monetary model. So the monetary model in this case is in between you and success, which is a pity, I think. You think about it, you get it back.
I didn't even ask for it. I think we're talking about different processes here. I mean, we're talking about, let's say that everything what you say about time banking is true. If you're walking a process in which you want to address, for instance, what is the process of people that are designing together a currency and starting to put the rules out together? It's this making currency a commons and the commoning around it. It are qualitative processes that are gems. Those meetings, they are gems. They're slow, they're pain, they're blood, sweat, and tears, but they're gems, and they're wanting to talk about change. Having things like addressing that, hey, we're on a minus in a mutual credit system, and that deters people. You're right, but that's exactly also, again, part of the process of making people to come to think about the fact that, what does minus mean? Minus is a good thing here. You're enabling somebody else to be getting help through the time bank. Oh, and what does that mean? And what does... So this is all... We brought a paper here. We did this thingy yesterday. So it was about time banking as a pedagogical tool for us to learn how to build different relations. And that's the beautiful thing of it. So it's readdressing economy. It's readdressing so many... They're very qualitative things. And I mean, I can also throw you some nice numbers in the face. And indeed, we got a taxation ruling, which some people are not very happy about, that's what happened. But we see it also as a change, as a chance to really address. So what happened in Helsinki was that officially, if you have, you get a professional service, officially you would need to be paying taxation on it as if it were a service in the market. So of course that had a negative impact on us. I mean, it's all a little bit ridiculous, but it had a negative impact and gave a stigma, etc. But we have all along, we've had a time tax proposal, and that is still something that we want to take forward with the city. So we're wanting to also not just find a solution or kind of dodge our way out of it, but to address the whole thing. If you have a complementary currency, what about talking about taxation in that complementary currency? What does it mean? Where are the possibilities? So it's just a different process.
So Bernard Littard, and he's not the only one, makes a sort of distinction between what he calls male and female currencies. You might be aware of this, where the euro is on one side, it's a very male currency, it's focusing on competition, on innovation, it's aggressive in a way. It leaves people behind if they are not fast enough, or so it's not inclusive at all. And then he says on the other side, he used, by the way, different words, but this is how we explain it. Female currencies, which are focusing on the community, which are inclusive, which are based on networking, and we try to make sure that everybody can be part of that. So if that is a line, and we have euros on this end, and we have time banking. Now, yeah, we have the gift here. All right, so time banking is next to the gift. We have time banking here. Then it's true that we go a little to the right. So we are here, maybe in the middle. I'm not certain if it's the middle. So we do that. So we changed things in the model to make sure that people become more active and that we have more things happening in the system. Because not everybody is a part of the place where we create a currency in a co-creative process. By the way, in this case, we had a co-creative process with around 40 people in more than 10 gatherings, including end users, including shops, including local clubs and including professional players in the area, including the municipality. So we had that. And yes, a lot of these people spoke about it and things changed. There were even things happening which I didn't like. Because I wanted the currency, in Samodoen in this case, I wanted to be based on minutes. And in the end, they decided it should be cents. Because basically, people didn't understand the time thing. Also after discussion, after discussion, after discussion. And I found it very inconvenient. Because if you take money, that means euro or cents or whatever, as your basis, as your unit of account, if you pack it there, it becomes even further, it goes even further to the right. So it's coming closer to this male end of the currency. And I didn't want to do that. I wanted to keep it in the social domain. But this is the type of things, if you do multi-stakeholder processes, they come up with something else than what you propose, quite often. And if you are honest, you have to follow this. So we followed that at least in the Samodoen proposal. So it's true, it is different areas where you work, but they have a big overlap. And exactly where the overlap is probably the area where we need innovation. And we have a lack of innovation, I think, in time banking world, in LED's world, in the barter world. And we should try to see if we can learn from voucher schemes, from incentive schemes, from SPICE in this case, because there's so much more activity, although it's not the same as a traditional time bank. We should see what we can learn there, just to see if we can go to the next level and to create something which will be of much more value than the things that we did in the last 30 years already. Yeah? We have 30 years of innovation there.
Just one more comment, and that's from some communities in the UK, they actually don't want to use this reward model. So we've heard some communities that are saying that they don't feel that this is time banking. They don't want to describe it as time banking, as you said, volunteering. But they feel that it's people that help other people in neighbourhoods is true time banking, and that people that get involved with rewards or incentives are doing it for the wrong reasons. That's the only reason they're getting involved is to have those rewards and incentives. Therefore, they say it's very easy for you to double numbers, triple numbers, quadruple numbers, but actually, if we're going down to the social action in communities and creating social mutual support groups, it's not happening in that kind of model.
One question before I answer it. Do we still have time? Where's Andreu? Can I answer this one and then go to you? Because it might answer part of it. So I think the big discussion here is the difference between intrinsic and extrinsic value that people have. The reason why you do something. In a time bank, no, in voluntary work is mostly intrinsic reasons why I do that. So I help others in my neighborhood, for example, 4 times per week, because I want that. And if you look in literature, you find 2 things connected to this intrinsic value. One is that I do it without getting paid, because if I get paid, it's changing the relationship automatically. And the second thing is that it's visual. So if it's not visual, I'll probably not do it. Interesting enough. Both need to be in place. All right. In a time bank, you take one step in incentivizing, but you don't go the whole route. You do one step. You keep it reciprocal, but you are already on the line of changing the social relationships from the gift into something which is transactional. So you're already changing something to the natural situation, more or less natural situation that people are used to. And that works, of course. I mean, it enables transactions that were not there before. It makes sure that people that don't know each other start to become, to support each other, to do things for each other, which is a good thing.